What just happened? Oh my gosh, it just went live and then my thing went dark. Okay, if you're watching this not live, look below you. There's a little marker when we start. I'm going to figure out why my audio is not working. I mean, my video. Did you see me? Did you guys see me? I disappeared? The heck just happened, man? What? I don't even know what. Anybody there? That was weird. Okay. I don't know what was wrong. All right. We're going to start in like 10 minutes. There'll be a little marker. Where's my little thing? There we go. 10 minutes to start. What's up? What's up, friends? How you doing, Jacob? I haven't seen you in a while, man. Turn my thing off here. I hope I don't get a little copyright claim on this. That'd be annoying. I'm going to keep up my... That's weird. That's okay. There we go. Analytics. How's everybody doing? What's up? This is a old classic documentary from 1982, but it uses footage from the 1930s. Hope it works. Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Streaming light. I'm on the West Coast. What's up, Purple Haze, Johannesburg? How you doing? Wanted to watch some other stuff. Wanted to watch some Louis Theroux. They shut me down yesterday. For some of you were here that I see in the comments already. Not everybody. There's other stuff I want to do. If anyone's just joining, I let it sit for about 10 minutes, let people come in, and then I'm going to start this documentary from 1982. I thought it was 3. Some places I'm seeing 82, some places 83. But it is, they go up to the highlands in Papua New Guinea. And it says it's first contact. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know that that I always talk about how uncontacted is not really a thing. And, I haven't found a real example of it. People talk about North Sentinel Island, and North Sentinel Island is not uncontacted. There's pictures from like the 1970s of them with anthropologists and Indian officials. But this was the 1930s. So then it was still possible. But at the same time, there's also usually there might be some people that exist in the world that haven't met Western people, but those people might be living in a tribe in the jungle or anywhere else remote, but usually somewhere like the jungle or the rainforest. These types of tribes are either on islands or they're deep in the jungle or they're deep in the Amazon rainforest. Places like this is where you find them. And but even though they're uncontacted, where certain people might not have ever met anyone from the West or outside their communities, they have contact with people who then have contact with the Western world or the outside like cities and things like that, or they have contact with somebody who has contact with somebody who has contact with somebody. There's a string. And even those uncontacted tribes, like I posted this article where they're like, oh, it was like met these uncontacted people. It's like, no, those people in the pictures had on like Ronaldo and Messi shirts. Like, these are not uncontacted people. These are people who are much less aware of the modern world, but they're not uncontacted. So we're just hanging out for a little bit, letting people join. Your daughter is somehow 0.9% New Guinean? How? Where are you from? Oh, you might just be an Australian, right? I mean, the Melanesian, that's weird. That's very weird. I don't know. Genetics are odd, but somebody way back when, Wait, your daughter is and you're not? Would that be just from your husband or the father? I was uncontacted during my 20s. I lived in my apartment and never leave. Me too, man. You're American, Norwegian. Her father lied. What do you mean her father lied? I'm so interested in these comments right now. Like, what do you mean Norwegian? Like your Norwegian ancestry? You are American with Norwegian ancestry? Her father lied about what? Said he was Spanish and Irish? Well, you can still be Spanish and Irish and then have 0.9% New Guinean DNA. That doesn't make any sense to me. But it's possible. We might just skip the whole stream and just talk to April Norman this whole time. Actually, what is what is happening? Spanish and Irish, New Guinean. What? Mostly Norwegian and German. Okay, so you're from the Midwest. You're telling me. That's what I'm getting out of that. It also could be a false reading. That's true. And then there's also, I'm not too familiar with DNA in general or New Guinean DNA, but sometimes things show up when they're like, they use those markers to identify this other group of people, and then you just have a common ancestor. He's Mexican and Irish and New Guinean. I'm trying to wrap my head around that. Well, what could have happened? The Spanish, like the Spanish Empire out of Mexico, out of the west coast of Mexico, would send trips to farther west, and it's possible that they pick somebody up, or like if it is New Guinea, and if it's not just noise, if it's not just like some far back ancestor. I mean, 0.9% is not significant. That's like 10th or something, even maybe more than that, great grandparent. But that would be like, but the west coast of Mexico is where they put ships out into Asia, where the Spanish Empire was, in like the Philippines and in other parts of Melanesia. What shows up as New Guinean, they get their data from the amount of people that they have DNA for, and I assume they don't have as much DNA. Yeah, I mean, that is like Elizabeth Warren's Native American DNA. Good point. But that one at least makes sense, right? Because she's in America and she's like what, like 1/28th, or was it even more? Like that's just, that makes sense. You go back 400 years or so, whatever it is, and she has some Native American DNA. It doesn't make sense to then claim that to get into law school. That's not cool. But that's what she did. Oh, sorry. Right. Yeah, so my audience is about 45% American, probably less right now because it's not that late, I guess. Elizabeth Warren is an American politician who Donald Trump calls Pocahontas. And she's a white lady who happens to have a negligible amount of Native American DNA. And so, in order to get preferential treatment to get into law school, she put down on her college applications that she was Native American. And to people who are like in anthropology, that it's offensive. Honestly, it's like a bad thing to do, because like she's not connected to that community. Like regardless of how you feel about these things, especially when they're like so bad today, but like there's so many of them, but like those are at least intended to help people who dealt with issues like in the past, based on like, because there was a lot of racism against Native Americans, and they were dealing with things like the boarding schools. Like there was legitimate problems, and even today Native Americans have a lot of issues. Depends on the tribe and nation. They're very diverse. Some of them have median incomes of 100,000, some of them have median incomes of 20,000 USD. Very, very, some of them, like the Navajo, they have very poor living situations, especially back then. This was like the 80s when she do that. And right, so she claimed this without having to deal with any of the bad parts of it, and that's just screwed up, man. Like that's bad. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. They could have been picked up during the slave trade. It might not have been slavery, but I'm pretty sure the Spanish did slave raids into New Guinea, as well as other places in Melanesia, as well as the Philippines. And they also enslaved a lot of or enserfed almost. It's not really that big of a distinction. They're kind of the very similar things. But yeah, that is where I think that would come from. It would come from the Mexican. They would have went and grabbed people from the coast of a Melanesian island, and then that person eventually gets freed or whatever, and then that DNA generations down. That makes sense. So Central and South American and some Mexican. I've heard of some having. I don't know too much about this, but I've heard of some having Australian Aboriginal DNA, but that's very related to New Guinean. It's pretty much the same thing. Yeah, we don't like her. Like liberals and like conservatives don't like her because she's like a left-wing woman. And then liberals I don't like her for the conservative reasons and the liberal reasons because I think it's a legitimately screwed up thing to do to fake that you're Native American in order to get preferential treatment. That's not cool. I don't like that. I don't like her for both reasons. And I do call her Pocahontas, and that's not offensive because it's making fun of her, not making fun of Native Americans. And it's hilarious that Trump calls her that. Now we're going to get started. So if you're just joining us, I'm going to throw a little timestamp in. We're going to watch this documentary. Which is on First Contact from some Australians. I guess First Contact. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's what they claimed. And it's in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. So people on the coast have met, but it's very rough terrain. Would have been really dangerous back then. Still pretty dangerous today in a lot of places. But let's see. This is from 1982, but this is footage from the 1930s, I believe. Can you guys hear that okay? It's quiet. Oh, that's coming through my computer. What is going on here? That's not right. Reset. Okay, why is that happening? Oh, man, I'm so bad at tech. So bad at tech. Sorry, everybody. Bear with me for a moment. Oh, now my computer's frozen. Or the thing's frozen. The sound's frozen. I can't believe I do this, like, professionally. This is crazy. What is output, input, don't need... Okay, it says it's on the right thing. Not on the right thing. Why aren't you working, man? All right, I'm sorry. Don't leave. Or do. I'm not your dad. There we go. Okay, that should work. There we go. Now it's too loud to me. Okay, sorry. How loud was that? Was that too loud versus me? Sounds all right? Yeah, I'm sure. They're terrible. Native Americans. Yeah, dude, I love that. Also, what in season 1, Cartman thinks that he's Native American because he doesn't know who his dad is. That's funny. Okay, I've just got to throw a new timestamp in. Okay, so we're gonna watch this documentary, which is ostensibly about first contact of not Native Americans. I'm talking about Native Americans on Papua New Guinea in the highlands. So the people on the coast would have met Western people, Australians, for a long time, but people in the highlands, very rough terrain, very remote, very dangerous back then, and a lot of parts are still dangerous today. So let's do it. Okay. Footage from the 1930s. And we're going to hope we don't get shut down. In 1930, 1 million people lived in the highlands of New Guinea. Their existence unknown to the outside world. That's a little hyperbole. The first Europeans to encounter them were these 3 Australian explorers. It's weird music. I don't like it. Alone in this apartment. Hold up. There's going to be a lot of subtitles here. I got to move myself around. This is what we're going to do. We're going to move me up here. I saw a white man. No way, dude. I was so terrified I couldn't even look at him, and I cried. I cry when I see white men too, man. All right, I'm sorry. The white man came from there. We'd never seen such a thing. Did he come from the ground? Did he come from the ground? Okay, so that's going to be my first stop there. So just so we're clear here, sometimes when you're looking at these types of people, it can be very easy to be like, oh, this guy's stupid. He thinks white people come from the ground. Like, that's wild. But at the same time, it's not that they're stupid. That's not why they think that. It's because they have a different understanding of the world than we do. It's why cargo cults exist, and a lot of them are basically known for being on Papua New Guinea or on New Guinea. Papua New Guinea is its own country. New Guinea is the island. They see the world based on their understanding of it. So they've never seen machinery, cars, factories, white people. They've never seen white people, and they don't have phones. This is 1930s. They don't have telegraphs. They don't have railroads. They don't have all these things. They have no frame of reference in their understanding for this thing. So they're trying to understand what's happening when they see this guy that looks nothing like anyone they've ever seen, wearing clothes they've never seen before, holding tools they've never seen before. So it's all new things to them, and they're trying to make an understanding of it based on their own culture. So just so everyone's clear, they're not stupid. They're not just, oh, these are idiot natives. Like, no, that's not what it is. They're just, they don't have the cultural understanding of these things that we do. Okay, I belabored the point. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going to stop it for a second. Like, they freak out when they see planes. Wouldn't you, if you've never seen a plane? You see some hunking piece of metal flying through the air, that'd be crazy. You never seen it. The Khoisan are one such group. Oh, yeah. The indigenous people of South Africa. We've talked about them before. Probably will again. Oh, this guy has blonde hair. Right. So this is a genetic trait, this blonde hair, that it developed separately from the blonde hair we see in Northern Europeans. What's it called? Convergent evolution or something, when the traits they become the same thing through different evolution. So yeah, some of them have blonde hair. Some people in Afghanistan have red hair. That does come from the same source. It comes from like way back, Indo-Aryan groups. But in this case, it's not. Yeah, so some Melanesians, some New Guineans, some Aboriginal Australians, they have blonde hair, which is very interesting. And they look very different. They don't look like Bantu sub-Saharan Africans, even though they have black skin. Just like, if you look at the difference of like a Somalian person versus a Khoisan person, those are very different from Bantu. And Bantu is the group that most American black people come from. The white man thought our leader was going to attack. Right. So the white man shot him. Okay. Great job, man. No way. Come on. I wonder what he did to make him think that he was going to attack. Like, it might have been threatening. This is another thing on the difference of cultural understanding. This white Australian guy, he sees a guy standing there with a weapon, thinks he's going to attack. It's possible that he was going to attack. It's possible he wasn't going to attack. We don't really know, but the Australian guy was acting on his own knowledge, which is different. So he acted in the way that it's confusion. They can't speak the same language. This happened a lot during the 1600s, 1700s, 1500s. Oh yeah, they're related to Aboriginals in Australia.
I think kill people. Yeah. They go and look for gold, or we never killed them because that stop us from looking for gold. The only reason that we kill people was simply.
Give this guy some subtitles. What is going on, dude?
If we hadn't killed them, they would have killed us and all our carriers. All the people
they might have. We don't know.
The gold had nothing to do with it.
Whoa, that is a scary picture, dude. This is a horror movie. Am I being punked right now?
New Guinea was one of the last places on Earth to be colonized by Europeans.
It was never really colonized.
In the 1920s, the Australians occupied only the coastal fringe of this huge island lying just to their north.
It's a
Of
funny
the
picture.
interior, nothing was known. No European had ever been there. Australia, the occupying colonial power, saw its role as bringing civilization to New Guinea.
Why? Just leave them alone,
Along
dude.
the coast, missionaries busied themselves saving souls, while the plantation owners put them to work.
Okay.
It was cheap labor.
Bro, come on. Okay. Yeah, I mean, obviously, of course, that's what you're going to do. I can't believe they had a march in, though.
But by the mid-1920s, New Guinea was hard hit by low world prices for its few products. There seemed little to attract the white man.
This is from 82, dude.
And then, in 1926, gold was discovered a mere 40 miles inland.
Oh, no. Curse.
Hundreds of Australians came up to New Guinea in search of the quick fortune.
The great day has arrived. Dredge number 1 is completed and ready for work. The official opening is an occasion for celebration and festivities. The floating monster's arrival from civilization thrills the Kanaka as much
Floating
as the white man.
monsters. I guess that's
He
true.
throws himself into his task with zest. You will understand how the native has benefited by these activities. A long time will elapse before he shakes off the shackles of barbarism. But his contact with the environment of the white man must inevitably hasten his progress along the path that leads to civilization.
You know, I think this video here is older than 1982. I guess this was published, but that recording even sounds older, and what they're saying does not sound like 82. I don't think that was 82. This is very 19th century type thinking that I don't agree with. You know, it's a little rough. You know, this idea of like having to bring civilization to people, and yet you're also like, yeah, it did sound like 30s or 40s, and I think it was 30s because that's where it said that that the footage was from, but I didn't know that audio was as well. Have a good day, brother. Yeah, so this is this type of thinking where like, oh, we're benefiting them, we're bringing them civilization. This is like, oh, this is a good thing we're doing, and yeah, they're gonna work, but like they gotta work. This is what we all do. But yeah, that's a little rough. Why is it so? The audio is so weird.
Within a
It's
few
so
years, the small-time
distorted.
miners had worked out their claims, or saw them bought out by the big dredging companies. Most of these men drifted back to Australia and the dull queues of the Depression. A few stayed on, convinced that somewhere else in New Guinea there was more gold to be found. Among
What's up,
them
Ghost?
were 3 brothers, Michael, Daniel, and James Lay.
And these are the 3 guys that this is about.
The eldest and acknowledged leader was Michael Lay, who died in 1978. He is survived by his brothers Daniel and James.
When I went to New Guinea, I was young and I suppose pretty thick in the skull to go there in the first place with malaria and all kinds of things. But anyhow, when I got there, I went there and I didn't think I was going to stay there very long because I didn't like it. I got the fever and I didn't like climbing mountains. And
I got the fever. I didn't like climbing
particularly
mountains.
mad about the people. But anyhow,
I wasn't particularly
stayed
mad
there.
about the people.
And when I stayed there for the benefit of James Levy Lay. And I didn't do badly for him. But I stayed there for 50 years.
When the gold rush broke out in
Wait,
New Guinea,
what did he say? He stayed there for 50 years?
and Mick left Australia to come to the gold rush, I had just left school, and it was in the middle of the Depression, and I had got a job up in North Queensland working on a dairy farm. Well, my only thoughts from then, after I'd learnt that Mick had gone and the gold rush, was to get to New Guinea and be doing the same things as Mick was doing. A lot of people say that Mick had the gold fever. Well, we all had it. So you can imagine what terrific excitement it was that I was at last almost on my way to the promised land.
The promised land. That's not what I would describe this as. That's 50 years. What is this? This is like a fever dream, dude. The production in this is crazy.
Spurred on by dreams of another great gold strike,
So it's a
Michael
gold
Lay
rush.
turned to prospecting. The obvious place to look for new gold was the interior, where no European had ever been before. In 1930, the interior of New Guinea was one of the last great unexplored regions then left on the face of the earth. Rising up in the center of the island was a great mountain range, so sheer and rugged it was thought to be uninhabited. But unknown to the outside world, within these mountains were huge and fertile valleys, and in these valleys lived 1 million people.
It's a lot of people.
Michael Lay and his companions were the first white men to enter this hidden world and meet its people. Lay was looking for gold, but he took a camera with him, and so a record
Can you
of
imagine
this
wanting
historic
gold that
encounter was
much?
captured on film.
Oh, wait a minute. 50 years, 1930s. So he just took a camera. Did he not leave for 50 years looking for gold? I hope we get more information on that because that's crazy. Come on.
The year was 1930.
1930, not the 1930s. Actually, 1930. Master Mick, he told us not to steal or spoil people's gardens or fight among ourselves. He called him Master Mick. He was boss over all of us, Master Mick. That's him, Master Mick.
Mick was always the leader of our party. He always
man.
went in the lead. He was a born prospector, I think. You know, he was a very, very good organizer, and he got very well with all the native people. The carriers all looked up to Mick as the leader. But he was very kind, but he was very hard at the same time.
Are you in Greenland? USA has taken that, brother. That is
Mick was always
American land.
confident we would find the El Dorado before we had finished our travels.
Finished your travels.
As long as there's a creek
years,
further up the valley that no one else has had a look at, that's a good enough driving force.
They're carrying them. Are you
creek further up
kidding
the
me,
valley
dude?
that no one else has had a look at, that's a good enough driving force for anyone.
What is going on?
But it was
Are you
very, very
serious?
hard.
Wait, you're
When
in
you're right
Greenland.
out
That's
in the
insane.
center,
There's not a lot of
There was
people
no
there.
way of getting back, only the
Are you
way
Danish?
you came.
Or it's
For
not
about
Inuit there, is it? Whatever.
90
Different thing.
miles, we had to walk to get to the place where we decided to cross the ranges. Well, then we had to climb up to 9, 10, 11,000 feet.
You're Norwegian.
The reward
Okay.
in the end was when we
That makes
looked
sense,
out
I guess.
into the valleys below, it looked like a big parkland. Of course, it
Big
was quite
parkland.
obvious that there was a huge population because of the huge garden patches.
Yeah. If this works out, we'll watch more documentaries from here. Okay, I'm gonna answer comments. So this is the one. It's they've got so few subscribers. Documentary Canalists. Check them out on there, but we might do them on streaming. So here's a question. These guys were cannibals up until the 50s and 60s, right? Yes, but also no. Some of them were cannibals. Yes. If you're on the shore, most of them by the 50s and 60s were not cannibals. There were some. But you know, that's the type of thing where that kind of story of somebody that is of a group of people that is a cannibal, they're going to get the most attention because it's the most interesting. And so the majority of them were not cannibals, even in the 50s and 60s. Up in the Highlands, we don't have that much information. I mean, this is a huge place. It's very, very diverse in language and culture and geography, which is related to the diversity of culture. But yes, there likely are still some cannibals deep inside, but not closer to where most people go. But I mean, if you're a group of people that doesn't practice cannibalism and you're more peaceful, and this was common, it's not like everybody here has the same culture, the same customs. Even they're way more diverse than, say, like Europe during the Middle Ages or even like the classical era, because they have less institutions, less contact with each other. So there's even more diversity of culture and of everything else, really. But they're like, if you're a group that's not cannibals and you're more pacifistic, you're going to be terrified of these types of people. And there's examples from this all over, like the Papago, the Tohono O'odham, these groups that lived on like the edge of Comanche and Apache land. These are Native American groups that were terrified of these people who would come and raid them. And they would do a little raiding, but it was much less common. It was a smaller part of their culture. And then you have like an extreme example is the Maori and the Moriori, who split off from the Maori. And the Moriori were extreme pacifists, whereas the Maori at the time were very, very violent and warlike, and they enslaved and genocided the Moriori. It's a rough story. But yeah, this is a thing. Like they'd be very scared of these other people. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, Koru is a thing. We'll probably do some stuff on that one day. But it gives you a parasite. Yeah, okay. Here's a comment I want to touch on. So the cannibalism and these types of things, like the law of the sea, like that type of cannibalism for survival, that's very different from the type of cannibalism I'm talking about. When I'm talking about cannibalism in this type of context, it's a ritualistic cannibalism that serves like a spiritual purpose for a lot of animistic, a lot of primitives, maybe a bad word, but it's like very people with low amounts of, they don't have a lot of institutions. It's very how do I put it? It's not primitive, because that implies like a linear trajectory for human culture, whereas it's not like that. It's like there's different ways, but these are people who are living in very traditional methods, and their understanding of the world, a lot of them are animistic, and many animists, not like most, but many animists like will practice ritual cannibalism, where it serves a spiritual purpose to eat people for different reasons. Maybe your enemies, it might even be someone from your own tribe, and like a sacrifice type of thing, and eating them is going to give you their energy or something like that. It's different in different cultures, but that's the basic idea. But yes, prion disease is what you would get.
When we got into the real new country, we used to hear them on the top of these hills, singing out to the people ahead. And then you'd hear it much further away on another hillside being repeated. They'd be watching you come, and it'd be on a little hill in some place, in top of a gully or something. And they'd see that we weren't the enemy coming up, that we were different, absolutely different.
So they were different. So they were looking out for enemy tribes. And that's not what they found. They found some people that looked completely different from anything they'd ever seen. And they might have heard stories, from people on the coast about these people, probably some scary stories if they had been like mistreated by some of them. But maybe at this point it hadn't been going on for a long time. Who knows? Actually, no, that's not true. It was happening. Yes, mana, manatau. There's different names for it in every culture. Why? These are scary pictures. It's like the style of photography makes it look just weird.
They thought we were spirits.
They thought we were spirits. Yeah. They look different. They're understanding what they're seeing within their own concept of the world.
We were so different to anything that they had ever seen before, because They never ever dreamt that anything like us existed.
That guy's shook.
They had no
shocked,
idea of
absolutely
civilization or what existed outside their part of the world.
That's not even a picture. I was only a kid when they came. We had just been defeated by our tribal enemies. We heard a strange story. I wonder what being defeated entailed. That the lightning had come. We thought these white men were lightning from the sky. Again, this is within their cultural understanding of like where these people came from. They might connect it to a certain type of weather that they just had. They try to understand what they're seeing based on their knowledge of the world, which is very, very different. They must be our ancestors from the place of the dead. They're spirits. And this is actually something that I've seen before with different contact, first or early contact. I've seen situations where they think that they're the spirit of their dead. This is common in cargo cults. We know nothing then of the outside world. We thought we were the only living people. And notice he's wearing a Western shirt. We believed our dead went over there, turned white, and came back as spirits. That's how we explained the white man. Our own dead had returned. I wonder if they thought they were someone specific. Somebody was watching too much of, what's that called? The Twilight Zone. I hate it. I hate it.
We'd get into camp and we'd put all the cargo in the center.
Cargo.
We'd put this.
He's using the word cargo. The cargo is the goods that they bring, right? It's not literal. Well, I guess it is literal cargo as well, but he's using the term that the New Guineans would use, cargo.
And no one was allowed inside there. Well, then you'd get all the mob would sort of converge in on you all around then. They were very inquisitive about anything you did or anything you touched.
I bet they were. I never seen you before, dude. Must be crazy. It's an experience none of us could ever have. Unless we saw aliens, really. It's kind of the equivalent of it. It's effectively the equivalent. Something from the outside world that you didn't know existed. And it's completely different from anything you've ever seen. I guess aliens would actually be worse because they wouldn't even be human. Unless they were human. That might be even scarier, though. What's up, brother?
The only thing we could do was to talk in signs to them. We didn't know a word of their language. We had no means of communication. We had no interpreters.
It's scary for everybody involved, man. The carriers had rucksacks on their shoulders. And our people said, notice they're all in Western clothes. Their wives must be in those bags packed up inside. Why would you think that? The carriers wore red laps around their waists. And a bayonet at the side. Well, he knows the word bayonet. He said bayonet. And our men said, you women must not look. They must have a huge penis wound around their waist and hidden under the lap. Oh, wait a minute. Let me Google lap. Maybe that's what they call the thing that they use to cover. This is not what they're talking about. The national dish of Vanuatu. What? That's not right. The word lap comes from Bismillah. It finds its origins. What? It's not the national dish of Vanuatu. I thought, and I still do think that he's talking about like if you saw earlier, they had this like almost a loincloth, but it's like a it's like a pouch almost where they put their genitals in. There's different styles of these. Some of them in certain places are made of wood. I have one actually. It's like a cloth, an Indonesian sarong. Thank you, our Indonesian friend. That's what I love about having this. And he's South Park reference. You American must have huge penis. Romans, I can't read that, but yes, I see it. So they think, because with their cultural understanding, right? They see these guys wearing, like, I guess they were probably fanny packs, and they were like, oh, they've got what we have, which is a pouch to put their genitals in, but theirs is really big, so they must have really just huge, big American Australian penis. I'm not going to spend that time to look it up, but I could play that clip from South Park. But that's what they think. That's their cultural understanding, because they see like, oh, that's like what we have. We use it for our penises. So they must have huge penises because they have a thing that's similar. Like, holy crap. And they said their women don't look. They're like, don't look at how big their penises are. This is going to get demonetized. It's a medical term. When we saw the laps and trousers on their body, we thought they must not have body wastes in them. Like they didn't poop. Because they were so wrapped up so neatly. We wondered how the excretion would be passed. Okay, so they don't see how you can take off pants. This is how, like, they haven't seen anything like it before.
You'd have these hundreds of them all around you,
and they understand it now,
yelling,
right? They're
and
not
shouting
stupid.
and rushing up and down. And sometimes I used to feel about 4 or 5 hairs go out of the back of my leg, and I look around and the fellow would be wrapping up in a banana leaf.
Wrapping up his leg in a banana leaf? Come on,
sometimes
man. This is the weirdest thing I've ever watched.
The hair out of the dog's back. Or anything that we touched. Even if you spat along the road, they'd be stampede to get it.
Anything we touched, right? This is an idea in animism. They're like, these guys have crazy energy, crazy good energy.
On several occasions,
so they want the stuff that they touch.
And all of a sudden, there'd be a woman rush in and grab one of the arm boys we had with us. Apparently, he had a very strong resemblance to her son that had been killed in one of the tribal wars. It looked as though she was dead sure that it was her son that had come back.
So they think it's spirits, and like I said earlier, now they think it's a specific person, and that's just very, very sad, unfortunately.
In the beginning, they thought that we were spirits that had brought these people.
And see, in the beginning, they thought we were spirits, but once they get an understanding of who they are, they meet them, they talk to them over a while, then their cultural understanding, they mix with each other. And now they understand all these things, and they get them a lot better because they've seen more evidence of them. So again, they're not stupid. It's just based on what they know.
Back. We couldn't speak to the people.
She just looks sad.
It was very hard to get away from that village. They'd say, stay here and we'll do anything you want, you can have. We'd say, oh no, we don't want to stay in the one place. We're looking for gold. Well, you'd leave the Marys there still weeping, and we'd just move on then to the next place. They wouldn't follow us very far. In some cases, they wouldn't be able to follow us very far on account of the boundaries.
Right. So these are very relatively small tribal boundaries. So they're not going to, it's like, gang territory or like a feudal fief or something. Like there's territory. You can't go into another tribe into their territory. You're not allowed to. They would hurt you. It would be like an invasion, basically.
It might be the enemy country further on.
And not even that far. We're talking a few miles probably.
We used to look for a campsite about 12 o'clock because in the afternoons when you usually get the afternoon rains, and we'd like to have our camp and everything up before the rains came. Well, by the time we had the camp up and everything went up, there was a huge lot of people around. And of course, we had our boys that used to buy the food.
Oh.
Boss boy? We show
the
trade goods and we'd say, bring us a pig. Imitating a pig. Oh, they grunt. Oh, to show it's a pig. That's what they want.
Don't you go now? Kiss him. One for a piggy, mama. Let me kiss him. Ori kisimika. Ori
They'd
bulukim
also bring
corn.
corn,
Ori bulukim
and they bring sweet
kisim
potatoes.
cow. Ori
Notice there, he said the word corn. He said the English word corn because they didn't have corn because it's from like the Americas. But sweet potatoes, they have an indigenous word for it in their own language because those are native to New Guinea, or at least they were brought there a long, long time ago. So they weren't introduced by Europeans.
kisimika. Na mi para. Vaim na. Paino kiri kiri. Na pigi
With
paimo
small
kumo
shells
kumo.
and big
Na
ones for the
bulukim
pig.
rapurap.
Pieces of lap,
Bigirik.
I guess
Ino
cloth.
bulukim vi para rapurap.
Small bits not for wearing.
Kanaka.
They were only for wild natives. One of us hid one day and watched the white men excrete. That man from heaven has just excreted, he told us. And as soon as the white man had gone away, everyone went to look. Oh my God. They went to look at their excretion. Their skin is different, they said, but their shit smells just like ours. My God. Oh my God, it's like a metaphor in real life. It's a freaking... Yeah. Oh, you think you're rich or your shit don't stink? Just like mine. See, and that's them starting to realize these are not spirits. These are just human beings like me. They just have a different skin color. That's all it is. And obviously there's differences, right? They have different like features and stuff, but they start to understand through interacting with these people that, oh no, they're just normal humans. They normally realize it pretty quickly, by the way. And sometimes with these meetings, if you read these accounts from the 1500s, 1600s, it might take a week or two, not even. And sometimes if you've convinced somebody, especially if you've kind of, maybe massaged the idea to get special treatment, as a lot of these explorers did back then they might, they might not really want you around anymore and like on the earth. But yeah, they figure it out quickly.
The first time you go in, they're curious and frightened.
Like the video, please.
And
subscribe if you're not for more stuff like this.
The second time you go in, they say, here they come again. We won't let all that treasure get through our hands this time. Because most of the people wanted the trade to get more knives and axes and things which they didn't have. And you can imagine the difference between a stone tomahawk and a good steel tomahawk. So they were very, very anxious to get the trade. And they thought we were weak and we couldn't protect it. And so they just... they said, we'll get them in. Next time they come, we'll get them in. They can sleep here, and we'll kill the lot and take their gear off them. We'll have all those axes and all those knives and all those go-lift shells and all that small trade. That was the attitude.
Good for them.
The first thing we tried to do to let them see that we weren't.
So this is the thing, right? You're going to meet different people, different groups of people. Some of them are going to be friendly. Some of them are not going to be so friendly. And you got stuff. They see you. They see how small of a group you are. Certain groups, not all of them, certain groups, they're just going to want to take your stuff. And that's how it works. There's no like monopoly on violence in these places. They don't have police departments, right? They don't have these things to make rules. It's close to the rule of nature, how it might be called in like Enlightenment philosophy type stuff.
Unarmed. We were armed, and we had good weapons.
Right? They have guns, but they don't know about guns, so they're going to demonstrate it to these people who have no. Look at that, right? You see how they run? They don't know what just caused that. They don't know what bullets are. They don't know what factories are. They don't know what guns are. All they know is they saw this guy. He was holding this stick, and then he pulled a thing, and then they hear a huge loud noise, like nothing they'd ever heard before besides like thunder. They've only ever heard a noise like that from natural things, very likely. I don't know what else would make a noise that loud. It's very loud, especially one of those. And they're going to see that, and until they figure out that there's gunpowder and whatever, and they'll figure it out eventually. But until they figure that out, they're just going to think, oh, this is magic, because it seems like magic. because it's advanced technology to that level. And I don't blame them. It's just like, yeah, whatever. I'm not even going to do the UFO example.
That gave them an idea how much power there was and what it did to them. It went into them and out the other side.
What did he just say?
And we'd say, well, now we don't want any trouble when they look like attacking. And we'll do the same to you as we did to the pig, because we've got the guns to do it.
They demonstrate
You
it.
leave our stuff alone, we'll leave your stuff alone. We're just looking for these stones in the creek beds as we go along. That's all we came to look for.
You think they would have brought
And
like a little piece of gold to show them what they wanted?
The poor old pig can't dodge like we can. It really took a bit away from the power of the gun.
Gun boys. Master Mick said, I hate that, dude. If the wild natives bring food, that's okay. We'll be friends with them. Good friends with them. Even if they have their weapons, don't fight them. Right, they might have their weapons even though they don't want to fight them. But if any of our men are hit by a spear or an arrow, all right, shoot them. So if they're hit, so they're only going to fire if fired upon. Don't let them escape. Shoot them quick. Master said, oh, God, I hate reading that, dude. Don't fool around. Shoot straight. Women and children was forbidden. But men we could shoot. All right, they have some. The white man accused us of stealing a lap, so I guess cloth. They came to fight us. Our people said the spirits are coming, so they still think they're spirits at this point. Even though now he knows they're just white men. Oh, gosh. I'm sorry, guys. I have to explain this stuff to the non-Americans. I always forget, or sometimes forget. Masta is like, it's just like the word master, but said like masta. Like it's not fully enunciated. And it's very common in like American movies about slavery for it. Oh, you don't need me to explain it. All right, cool. Yeah, you got me. You got me on my stream explaining stuff I don't have to explain. But yeah, it's at least in America, it's associated with like bad things. So it's like, one time with my ex-girlfriend, she was treating me poorly while we were still together. And I pretended to be, a slave. And I was like, oh yes, master, like in South Park with Heidi. It was funny, maybe insensitive, but it was funny. I saw nothing. Then the blood spurted out, and I was really amazed. Right, because it goes too fast. 2 other men were shot dead. Their names were Kundawai and Mogai Gi. He just said the names of dead guys and then laughed. When I saw what the bullet had done to me, I fell down as well, in shock, I guess. Yeah. He was a tough man in the fights. And a very hard man on the march. When he shot, he never missed. The man would drop on the spot. One man in Kukukuka at Chuave. I am assuming the women are done cooking and now watching. Yeah, right. Yeah, the women in my chat are going to be the most trad of the trad. So welcome. That's hilarious. Yeah, well, we have people from all over. So different countries, different time zones. We got Scandinavians and Mexicans, and Jacob, you're American, right? Romans is American. We got a bunch of people in the chat. Our South African friend just left. He shot one man at Bena. Kookaburra settle in. Fantastic. He's just naming places that this guy ended people in Minecraft. At Tarl, he shot plenty of them.
9 para emi shooting round.
There were 9
Tari.
people at Tari, trying to say Illinois, Sweet, St. Louis, Missouri. We had another
All
guy
we
from St.
did,
Louis
and I
here.
think it was quite
He's a
right,
regular. I
was
don't
to
think he's here
save
right now.
our lives and the
Or maybe that
90
is just you.
carriers we had with them. Because once my brother and I lost our lives, that would have been definitely the end of all the carriers that we had. They would have been killed out of hand. It would have been a mass slaughter.
Mm.
And as the big chief, he said in his address, when we calmed the interpreter down and he told us the whole story, he said to them, they've got all these wonderful things that we need, axes and knives and shell. Look at the shell. Look at the things that they have.
Oh,
They can't fight like we can.
so shell is going to be a very important trade good up in the highlands because they can't really go to the shore. It's hard for them to do that because they're going to go through like, enemy territory and then into unknown territory. And, in these types of places where people don't have a lot of contact, you see, there's some like New Guinean anecdote I read years ago that was like, if you see a man in the wild and you don't know him, you end him. Obviously in a different word, but yeah, this is a rough place. It's not like, I was going to say in America where that wouldn't happen, but maybe more now. Yeah.
All we got to do is to go.
And right now he's describing how he has to make sure, that they keep the people away from attacking, because even though they have the guns, they have overpowering numbers. These people, and they might want to take their stuff, and there's not as many of them. They have a lot of stuff. It's like a gold mine, a metaphorical gold mine. They're looking for real gold mines.
Just take it off them. Now, when I kill the first one of these white men, when I throw the spear through and spear the white men, you rush in and grab the people, kill them, and this will be all ours.
Everyone was gathered here. Pingetta, our chief, came down the hill running like this. Okay, so he lost the element of surprise. Dude, I gotta download that clip. They got this guy to imitate how the guy attacked. I mean, this is like in a different context. It maybe wouldn't look so weird. Let's do that. Our chief came down the hill and they demonstrate for them. How nice of them to do this for the camera. Running like this. I wonder what he's saying. They didn't translate it.
He went to throw.
I guess it's just random screaming, like rebel yell type thing. Bitty 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 ba. It's so funny. Okay, so he's describing something that actually happened here.
The spear, Mick shot.
Mick shot.
As the whole mob
Master
rushed,
Mick.
so did all the Bush guns fire. Well, there was only one shot fired.
Exactly.
And of course, there was a terrific barrage when there was about 15 guns or more went off.
Ba marenda bune indi une be. Den ko me jianda. Ko bala ga de pa jian ko ma ga da ga da biya kan. Aga da ga ko ma ga da biya kan.
And then they shot people over there, back there. Dude, I'm not going to be able to monetize this. And all around. That way, Tatakan was ended. Ambon. Nambon. Lowe's mother? In this direction, Kiakoa. This is not counting the many who were wounded. Going to get an infection.
Well, it was the order of the day, I suppose. The government allowed you to do it.
The government allowed you to do it.
And anybody who got killed or...
Right, this is the 1980s, right? So this documentarian is like, what's going on here? You're allowed to do that? And he's like, yeah, you could do it. The government lets you. When When you're rich and famous, they let you do it. Okay, Trump.
Wounded, you had to put a report in, and that had to be investigated. It wasn't a matter of going along and killing someone and no investigation made. There had to be a government investigation made behind you. There was no such a thing as you just killing someone and that's the end of it.
Okay, so you have to make reports at least, even in the 1930s.
The administration's attitude was a lot of the people, they didn't know much about those things. We never reported those things.
Oh, so they didn't report it.
I mean, there was it was just one of the things that happened on the trip.
It was just one of the things that happened.
And had we been killed on that trip, there would have been that we had about 90 carriers with us. And they were all foreign people to these. Well, they would have been all wiped out too.
Right. Okay, so that's a lot more than I thought. So they have 90 people from other places in New Guinea, but they're foreign to the people that they're seeing. They're probably from the coast, people that have been around Australians and Western people for hundreds of years. And so, yeah, I mean, look, it's probably better to just not go there in the first place because you're creating the situation. But I get it; they have to defend themselves if that is to happen. It's an interesting question. I don't think it's great, but it was the times. I guess they did it. And they're responsible for the lives of all these 90 men they have with them.
For several years, the Lays searched the highland valleys for commercial quantities of gold. They were unsuccessful.
That's their last name, by the way.
They began using aeroplanes on their prospecting expeditions, flying out over unknown country to survey the land.
Can you imagine being one of those people?
It was on one such flight that the Lay brothers first looked down on the Wagi, the biggest valley of them all. Soon after their flight, the Lays walked into this valley, and here at last they discovered gold. They set up their final base camp, surrounded by 250,000 more people whose existence had not even been suspected by the outside world.
I didn't see things like that before. Are those weapons?
There were not so many around the first day, but the next day there was a big crowd arrived. They were all in one long line, and they'd come in with the food and sugar cane and stuff like that.
Sugar cane, that's what it is.
And to show that they were friendly and they wanted to trade with us. But I think they did think that we were something a bit more than ordinary human beings.
You better hope they do, or they might try something like those other people did, and you might get, what was it? Beady beady body, bitty bitty bi, whatever he said. I can't recreate it.
It wasn't very long before we had more food than we ever could hope to use. And they were bringing more and more. You couldn't stop them because they just went wild after the trade. The beads we had, and the shell, and the axes.
Yeah, even the axes are like nothing they'd ever seen. Unfortunately, some of them were probably used for violence.
I think out of all the people on our trips, the Hagen people were the easiest and the best of the lot for us to deal with.
Hagen people. So like I said, they're going to have different cultures. Some are going to be nicer,
the big man
less violent than others.
And he'd address us. Oh, forget.
So big man. A big man is a type of leader. That's what they call them in Papua New Guinea or in New Guinea, on New Guinea. This is similar to the concept in like the Eastern Woodlands of a sachem. This is like a leader, but this is not a leader who's like a chief. It's not like a hereditary position. The position of a big man is built on just consensus of rules. So you're a big man if you can get other people to lead you. And in a lot of the highlands, this was done through the giving away of pigs. There's a documentary I tried to stream on, but I couldn't, called Onga's Big Mocha. And the mocha is this redistribution ceremony that they have. And it's similar to the word potluck comes from the word potlatch, which is from Coast Salish people that live in the Pacific Northwest, the American states of Washington, Oregon, and Canadian province, British Columbia. And so they're these big men, or I forget what they're called in the Pacific Northwest. They're going to rule. They're going to lead just through other people following them through different means. And redistribution is one of those methods that you see at these mochas on New Guinea or on these potlatches for Coast Salish people. And they give things away. And that's because like they have different ideas about private ownership of things. They don't necessarily not have private ownership, but it's different.
Now, and I don't think we had no, we didn't. We had no interpreters then. But they used to stand up there and give speeches as though we knew every word that they were saying.
And this is what a lot of these are orators
We
as well.
tried to explain to the people that didn't want to steal their ground. We just wanted to straighten it out for this big bird to land. Of course, you
Big
couldn't
bird
talk
to
to
land.
them, but you'd have to explain as best we could with sign language, and they helped us. And we used to give them shell and beads and things like that for coming. But they really enjoyed it because they'd sing
marching.
and dance around. They didn't mind the stamping of the ground to pack it up after we had filled in the drains.
They're not marching. They're tampering the ground. They're flattening out the ground. Cool.
They had around their gardens. They loved the opportunity to have a big sing around the place. And you'd have hundreds of them around singing all the time.
Okay. This is not going to get monetized.
They tell the natives a few days before that, on their hands, that so many days the Balus had come. They didn't know what a Balus was. A Balus was a bird, you see. Well, they said that this bird had come and he'd come out of the air and it would make a noise. They'd make a noise like the plane. I think the thing that struck them most of all was the fact that we could sort of tell them that we'll sleep 2 or 3 nights and out of the air will come this bird and it'll fall down here and it'll bring all these things. And out
Imagine
of its belly, someone will get out.
Out of its belly, right? They're trying to use, these guys understand this because they lived in it. They're trying to explain what a plane is, a cargo plane that drops things off, to people that don't know what a plane is and don't speak your language. So they're trying to explain that to them. And the people they had with them would not speak a language that's even in the same family. It would be as these languages from the highlands to the coast, and even in different parts of the coast and different parts of the highlands, different language families. They would be as different as like Chinese to English. I was just a kid when the first plane came, but now they know what planes are. He's got a Cuban shirt on. My parents said to me, we think good things are coming from the clouds. Mastam demonstrated a plane. That's what Mick did. My people said good things would fall from the sky. So he helped with the work.
I remember the day the first plane arrived on the Wagi Strip. I had a good pair of binoculars and I was watching for the aeroplane and I picked it up about 20 minutes before it landed. And I said, well, here it comes.
Crazy, dude.
They were more or less terrified, didn't know what it was.
I bet they were. Oh. Thank you, April. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot for that donation. Imagine seeing that, having never seen one. Just incredible hearing that. Must be amazing. When we heard that noise, we fell down and hit our faces. We wet and excreted ourselves with fear. I remember clearly when the first plane flew over. I thought it was a huge bird. That's how they describe it. We all ran off and hid. I would too. Some dived into the stream. Others hid under bushes. Everyone clung to each other and cried in fear. This is the end of us all. Master Mick patted their arms and said, "Don't worry, it's only bringing our cargo."
The pilot, Gabaski, was a very tall man, about 6'1" or 2, and he had a flying suit and a white helmet with these great goggles. And he got out of the plane. Then he opened the door, and Kingsby, the geologist, he got out of the inside of the plane. There must have been 2,000 to 3,000 natives lined up along the airstrip.
Wow,
they were
2,000 or 3,000?
Amazed, the people. And
that's multiple villages.
Looked up with wonderment. They didn't know what next was going to happen.
Wow. That's just a picture, though. But that's so cool. They must have been amazed. They brought a gramophone with them. They wound it up and told us to dance to its sound. We heard its cry and thought it was a box full of ghosts. We thought our dead ancestors were inside. They told us to dance again, and we did. Good Lord, man. Maybe tell them once. We thought the dead were dancing with us.
I'm looking on the bright side, though I'm walking in the shade, sticking out my chest, hoping for the best, looking on the bright side of life. I'm waiting for the right tide, and if luck comes to my aid, giving me a break, I shall be awake, looking on the bright side of life. Today I'm in the shadow, tomorrow maybe the clouds will lift and let the sun shift over to me. I'm looking on the bright side, though today's all care and strife, I can wear a grin, keeping up my chin, looking on the bright side of life.
Yeah, it's a little scary. It's whatever distortion is on the audio. The tin lid was shining in the sun. I saw it and began creeping towards it. Never even seen that before. Just like this. He's scooting like a dog with worms. Kids are laughing. It's so cute. I put my foot on it. Man, his feet are messed up. Get this man some cocoa butter, dude. I held it close to my body and said to my friend, "I've got it." I thought they'd catch me stealing it, but they didn't. They don't care. I was really happy. I stood up. Oh, he was scooting because he thought he was stealing it. It was a piece of trash. They didn't care, but he was like, he wasn't like scared of it. He was just trying to not get caught taking this thing. And then I ran straight home without stopping. I told my people I'd just seen the spirits. You're lying, they said. What's this then? Look what I got. I got the top of a can. Everyone was excited. My uncle wanted it. But my father took it and made it into a headdress. Oh my God. No way. Oh, that's exceptional. I'm gonna post this on Twitter. He made it into a headdress. See, this is what happens. This is one of those things, man. It's like this is something they've never seen before. So while to us it's trash, it's something that's very unique to them. And unique things like this would have value and spiritual power, especially if they're coming from people they think are spirits. So they think these are spirits. I've got this artifact. I'm going to make it into an item of great wealth to show off my status. Very cool. Chief Potted Ham. Very nice. Chief Potted Ham. All right. That looks like another tin. Oh, I'll fix my video. Dude. No. No way. Oh. Kellogg's whole wheat biscuits. Holy crap. Okay, I'll switch my battery. Sorry, in the camera. Oh, wow. Okay. Guys, this is Christmas. How fantastic is that? Oh, gosh. Okay. All right, let's keep it going.
I'll tell you a thing that was very impressive. A celluloid doll, a big one we brought up. Some of the women went to the lodge and they saw it when we brought it out. And they were very curious about that. They used to come back for weeks after to see the pickaninny.
Oh, it's okay. It's just a doll. I don't know what celluloid is or if you said something else, but. Yeah. Maybe just have her watch the documentary itself. Not me. I mean, whatever, I guess. But yeah, no teenagers watch my content. It's actually less than 1%, which I'm not surprised about.
It was fortunate for us that there was a big tribal war not very long before we arrived, and the people that lived on that land were scattered from one end of the Hagen area to the other. So it was a no man's land when we got it. There was no owners to it. And the people who chased the rightful owners from the country, well, they said we could go ahead and mine there. And the prospects were very good, and we got pieces of gold to about 10 grains in
10
weight,
grains?
which is
What does
very
that
good.
mean?
The best prospect we had struck in all our trips.
Okay.
So we had to wait till the geologists came out and their engineers came out from Wow to examine it. It was quite wonderful, really, the thought of what we might get, because the El Dorado was always at the end of our trip.
Mick decided that one of them should go down and see how we did live down there, that we weren't all walking around guarding guns and protecting ourselves and all that. So we spoke to the Kanakas and said, what about coming? And they said, no, we won't go. But in the end, they allowed one of the kids to go.
He's in Mount Hagen and he lives with Master Dan. Master Danny. He was boss boy. And this is me with the big nose. Everyone have a look. That's me. There I am. When the white man took me. Oh no. Master Mick put me in the plane. What do you mean took him, dude? He said to the pilot, watch him, he might jump out. Yeah, because you took him. You kidnapped him, bro. Come on. Don't do that. My parents said he's been carried off by the spirits. Dude, you took him from his parents. Don't eat their rice. Don't eat their meat. Don't eat any of their food or you'll go wild. Look at that. They thought they were wild. Or maybe he meant crazy. I saw greenhouses, red houses, white houses. I thought this is the devil's place. I will go wild. Crazy, I think. I thought of my mother and I cried out, bro, this is messed up.
And he took him down to the ocean, and salt was the thing that they were always short of up in the Highlands. And he said, well, taste it. And the boy tasted it, and then he said, get me some bottles and I'll fill them up. They'd found out bottles. So he filled up some bottles of water and tied them up because he wanted to take them back, because he said, when I get back, they won't believe me that there's so much of this. Well, then he saw a horse, a young, small horse, and he said, pig, pig. So they said,
thought the horse was a pig?
Well,
I guess they don't have horses up there.
So he said, well, give me a bit of its tail and a bit of it here and there, so as I can say, well, look, here it is, and here's a bit of it, you see. So he got a bit of that. And the same with every...
Have a good night, brother. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it.
Because he didn't know anything about paying or buying or anything like that. So they said, well, give it to him. And
so I'm now getting the feeling that while this was very scary, it seems like they were just bringing him on a plane ride and they were going to bring him back. So that's good. Still kind of, it must have been terrifying.
So, of course, he landed back eventually after 4 or 5 days. They didn't keep him there very long because they wanted to get him back whole, or otherwise it would have been very nasty.
Okay, so yeah, they were just bringing him on a plane ride.
And when he got back, he had all these
but they
things,
didn't think that.
See, and he said, he started to tell them. And he said, there's a bar loose. He said, this one has only got one here, but he said, there's one down there. It's got one zzz, and one zzz, and one zzz. And he said,
and remember,
pigs as big as this.
Even the people down on the shore, they would be completely foreign, even though they would look generally like, there might be some phenotypical differences between the populations, but they would look generally like them. These would still be on the shore very, very different culturally, even more so than their neighbors, than the people up in the Highlands. So even those other people would look very different to them.
And you know, the salt, he said, you know, as far as the eye can see, you know, it's full of water, full of salt. You know, they tasted it. And you know, the lap clothing and things like that. Oh, there's plenty of it. And nobody has a gun. They all walk about and everybody's sort of friendly. And because they didn't believe him, then they said, oh, it can't be that good. So they all wanted to get in the plane and go. Well, they were real bush Kanakas.
Now they all wanted to get in the plane.
And they were very primitive.
After the first one, you still took a kid.
Any job before. See, it was always hard to get labour for plantations and mining on the coast. But for mining in the Highlands, where there was only one miner, well, it wasn't very hard to get them. There'd be hundreds of applications for a few jobs.
Before me, one man yet
in the past, every man was his own boss, but this ended when the white man came. Great. Now this guy's wearing a suit. When they told us to work, we worked. Okay. So this is, yeah. Cool. They themselves, I missed that. When we worked, and we made sure we always turned up on time. How did you tell time? We knew nothing of money or even what it looked like. And now they do. See, he's talking to the past tense. What we liked were shells. Shells were what we wanted. Yeah. Shells are also considered currency-ish. For the Native Americans where I'm from.
We used to order it from Thursday Island and then be flown in. Sometimes we get 1,000 then. Wealth was the great thing, the big thing in their life. They judged a man by the number of pigs and the number of shells he had.
I said that earlier, number of pigs and number of shells. Just like a group like, it's one of the other, the Khoisan are one like genetic ethnic group, but some of them are hunter-gatherers, and then others, or there's some groups that, value things differently, right? So there's like pigs, just like you said, that's how they establish their value, the amount of pigs that you have.
Mostly.
They're the shells we wore, so they wear them as jewelry, right? We were given to the white man's carriers in return for shells like these. I was just a young girl. Okay, great. The strangers paid me and the other girls. Oh no, with shells and steel. She's talking about for regular work, right? They were very wealthy and bought many more girls. I was the first. Oh no! We thought they'd eat us. I guess this is how. Actually, okay. I mean, in fact, they were kind of us. Okay, so yes, they're buying women as wives, right? That is what they're doing. But this would have been, I think, from what I know about from other documentaries I've seen, that this would have been regular practice in that area just in general. So they were specifically scared because these are like new people, but they would have been just sold to other New Guinean men. So yes, that is their culture. They weren't just like, this wasn't something they brought in there. It's still, it's wrong regardless, I think, but that's what they were. Yeah, I think they were, Lily. I think that happened because they said they were married to them. And in this part of New Guinea, and I don't know about the other parts, it could be all of it, but these are places that are polygamous. They, or polygynous, they're multiple wives, right? You're not going to have multiple husbands. That's much more rare in general, but yeah, they had multiple wives. And having multiple wives is generally a thing in cultures where violence is more common, like the highlands of New Guinea. It's associated with that. I'm pretty sure. Okay, here's your answer. We had times together, then we knew they were men. Oh, come on, man. And she said she was a young girl too. In fact, they were kind to us. Okay, but then they knew they're not men, at least. The bright side. The shells were the dowry, yes. Yeah. For 1 week, I was so scared nothing happened. Then we saw they were humans with genitals like ours. At first, we thought they had none. They were men, all right. Okay. As the white men were giving out good things for women, my husband asked me to go to them. Oh, come on, dude. Out of this, I bore a mixed race son, which is good. Were you scared? Did you think the white man was a spirit? I was afraid to go. Yeah. We'll talk about that another time. He took photographs of me. She looked scared. He gave me things and made sure I had enough to eat. He was very kind to me. When you were expecting his baby, did you tell him about that? No, I went to my own village. I raised the boy on my own. What about your husband that you had that sent you over to this guy? What the heck? He did that. That's how the boys were. Oh, it's not a dowry. You're right. Yeah, there's another word for it. What? It's bride price. There might be another word, but yeah, bride price. He had many women. That's how the boys were born. We hid them from the white man. We were embarrassed. Later at school, they met up with the white men again. Were they the same white men? Did these guys meet their fathers? Okay.
And people through.
Long ago, before the white man had come, we ourselves handled all things, fights, time of feasts, time of ceremonies, time of weddings.
And when
the white man first came to the highlands, they brought a dish with them and also a shovel. They put sand in the dish and washed it in the water. We thought like this. In the past, when our ancestors passed, we burnt the bodies, collected the bones, and then threw them in the water. So when the white man used the dish, we thought our ancestors had come back to look for their bones. See, he's explaining their thought process, which is, it makes sense. But we know now, see, they made money from the gold which came from our ground.
Although it wasn't an El Dorado, we were millionaires or anything like that, or anything like millionaires. We'd made a very, very good living out of it.
Very, very
we
good
were
living,
able to pay the natives for everything, and that was the main thing in the country, to be able to give them, to barter fairly with them all the time, which was more than fairly.
Yeah, so they're paying them quite well, I guess, even though they didn't really have a concept of it before.
As far as developing the country or for their own good, that they had anything that was better than what they have now.
It was no good trying to say we weren't old colonials, we were. And I can remember there was a fellow came up there and he was in business, and someone called him a robber one day, a European this was. Well, he said, I didn't come up here to get a suntan. So, you know, I think everybody was the same. It's no good to me trying to make out I went up there for the good of the natives, because I didn't.
Okay,
I went up there for the good of James Levy Lay. I didn't do too badly.
Yeah, he was trying to make money. He's paying people for their work, even though he's kind of making them work, I think. That's when they first came. No, I knew him well enough. He's gone now. Oh. Too bad. Well, I guess they have a good perception of him, at the very least. Oh, they're watching a movie. They're watching footage of themselves, I guess. Maybe others. But this is more modern. This is 80s, contemporary. They'll keep this picture for each generation to see, so that they can say to each other, that's how we used to be. He's wearing a suit. Oh, he says that. Very different now.
I'm looking on the bright side.
I guess that's the end.
In the shade, sticking out the chest, hoping for the best, looking on the bright side of life. I'm waiting for the right tide, and if luck comes to my aid, giving me a break, I shall be awake, looking on the bright side of life. Today I'm in the shadow, tomorrow may be. The clouds will lift and let the sun shift over to me. I'm looking on the bright side, though today's all care and strife, I can wear a grin, keeping up the chin, looking on the bright side of life.
That was cool. That was very weird. We got any questions? Any questions? Anybody want to talk? You got anything else to add? That was freaking weird, man. Cool though. Very cool. What the heck? All right. I'm gonna leave. I'll let people type some stuff in the chat if they want to. Give you some time to do that. What a weird thing. Cool pictures. Educational. Thanks for coming, everybody. Will the Americans do this to get our gold? You can't even do that today. Nobody has, as little understanding of the outside world as any of these people did at the time in the 1930s, because like even these uncontacted tribes are going to have contact with people who through a chain have contact to modern things. So they will have experience with modern goods, even if they're less understanding of the outside world. So this will never happen again. Someone said in the chat earlier, I'm glad they had cameras back then. And, me too. It's cool. It's good. It's good they had cameras. Yeah. Yeah, they do seem happy. They seemed happy. I don't know. I think people are generally happier in this state of, this is more how humans evolved. It's closer to how humans were meant to live. I think people in the modern society, even though we have so much more physical goods, I think we're on average a lot less happy, live longer lives. Quality of life defined by Western, modern values is maybe different. Like it wouldn't match that. They don't have quality of life in that sense, but they have family and they have purpose. And I'm alone in my dad's apartment, cleaning it out while I'm here. I don't live in my dad's apartment. I'm visiting. Yeah, they're probably happier than I am. Happier than most people in the chat. And they're not stupid. Cool. Made myself upset. Sweet. I'm just kidding. All right. Thanks for coming, everybody. If there's nothing else, I'm gonna hop off here. If you remember, I've got that part 2 video. I recorded it. It was all distorted. So I got to do it again. Rich in things versus rich in connection. Yeah, connection seems to be more important. Not that I don't have great friends, but what about the Sentinelese on that Indian Ocean island? Yeah, you weren't in the chat yet when I brought that up. That was near the beginning of the stream. But and if someone else asks questions while I'm answering this, then I'll keep answering. But so North Sentinel Island, the other Sentinel Islands, there's multiple of them. It's a chain. They still have contact, but the North Sentinelese, they're actually not uncontacted. They are, I'll pull some pictures up, but North Sentinel Island, for some reason, it just keeps, I just posted about this on Twitter the other day. They just keep posting that they're these headlines that they're uncontacted, but it's never been true. They had contact in the 1970s. See, this is the AI overview. They made contacts with North Sentinel Island occasionally to make friends with them. It's administered technically by India, but they were peaceful at that time. But then they introduced diseases and then they left. And by the time anyone came back, I think there was political turmoil there. This is modern. This guy is cheering, either celebrating or threatening. This picture, I think, comes from after there was that missionary, Asian American missionary, John Chow or something. Chow, I think that was his name. But he tried to go there, and this is them. I believe this is them celebrating afterwards, after they ended him. Yeah, these posturing you see here. He's like, yeah, with his bow. Yeah, this is how humans were meant to live, brother. But yeah, they're not uncontacted. They're contacted. Pull up some more pictures. There's some pictures from the 70s of them meeting here we go. That's what I'm looking for. You can see there's some anthropologists and other people that are giving them coconuts. This was from the 1970s, but then they stopped going. So yeah, they're not uncontacted, but they have very little knowledge. Probably North Central Island is one of the places in the world where they have the least knowledge of the outside world. Yeah, I'm glad the stream wasn't suspended either. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna leave here. Thanks for joining, everybody. Always love coming in here and hanging out with everybody. So thanks for coming. Wait, you're saying look up? Is there something? Yeah, me and Lord Miles had a back and forth on X. I told him, hey man, or I commented like, don't visit them, not for you, for them. Don't visit them. Yeah, I like him. I like Lord Miles a lot. I've invited, he made a post and he was like coming to New England and he was like, hey, is there anyone I can stay with? And I DM'd him, was like, hey man, stay with me. I'm in New England. Come by. I'll pick you up from the airport in Boston, wherever you're going. And he didn't read it or respond. He doesn't follow me. Eventually I will get Lord Miles's attention. We've commented back and forth a few times, but I'm a big fan of that guy. All right. Later, everybody. Thanks for coming.